Okay, forgotten how to do this. Right. La 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 la. Okay. Hi there, everybody. Dave here from Hey You Guys, and welcome to another episode of Mouth Off, where today we are going to be talking about a movie that's already in cinemas. We're a bit late to the party, but we had holidays, and none of us have been out for about 4 months. So, when we go out, it was nice. So we stayed out and we didn't come back, but now we're back. And today we are going to be talking about Unhinged. I am joined by the wonderful Stefan Pape.
Oh, hi.
There you go, your cue.
I was about to say that.
And the even lovelier Linda Marric,
Hello.
all the way from lovely Dorking. If you don't know Dorking, check it out. Box Hill, Leith Hill, all the hills, they're all amazing. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about Unhinged. It's Russell Crowe's new movie. I've not seen it, full disclosure, but I want to see it. But Stefan's going to tell you a little bit about what it's about and all that jazz. Cue Stefan.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for cue. I need a cue, obviously. Yeah, so this is it's a very simple premise, actually. So it won't be the longest synopsis ever, but it's about a character called Rachel, played by New Zealander, South African-born New Zealand actress Caren Pistorius, who's kind of running a bit late for work. She's got her young son in the backseat of her car, and she gets to a kind of intersection. And there's just a guy kind of ahead of her who's obviously just going quite slowly or just doing annoying things that people do, especially in rush hour. So she beeps her horn and she just causes up a little bit of a fuss, not in an overly confrontational way, just in a way that you do when you're running late to work and someone's annoying you on the road. And he's obviously quite an unhinged, unstable man, and he goes for her, and it's basically a kind of cat and mouse chase across the kind of streets between this man who's not letting this this small minor road rage incident lie, and he wants to seek revenge, and that's the idea behind this movie.
He looks pretty angry in this photo here, and the shades as well.
I mean, he always looks angry, to be honest, Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
So I think this is a perfect role.
Didn't we do a junket once with him where he was just smoking a cigar in the room? Was that him?
Oh yeah, I think he just sat back, smoked some cigarettes, just looked like he just got out of bed. Brilliant, because that's kind of what I do in junkets.
Yeah. There's similarities between the two of you. So yeah, no, I've not seen the film, but I like the premise. It's very simple, and from the images that I've seen here, it looks like. I mean, there's one here of an explosion. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but hey, that's what happens sometimes if you beep somebody at an intersection. But Linda, what did you think of it?
Well, let's put it this way: it's not that much of a stretch for him to play this role, because he is, I'm going to be trying to be nice, but he isn't the sort of the most clear-headed person, even when you talk to him. So I didn't like the film. I thought it was a really good idea that was trying to make a commentary about the way we live our lives nowadays and how none of us can say sorry. But at the same time, I just thought it was very old-fashioned. It was like an old-fashioned thriller, and it was really ham-fisted in the way it presented the story itself. I don't think it made a convincing argument for any of the points it was trying to put forward, and more importantly, it's unbelievably violent. And you want to talk about gratuitous violence, it's almost like it came out of nowhere. The first time he does something really awful, you just think, where did that come from? And you think you're watching this kind of straightforward sort of mainstream B movie, and then something really awful happens. And then you think, okay, well, I mean, the tone here is a bit wrong. And I think he really overdid. He hammed it up a bit. Like I said, it's a scenery chewing performance, and it is a scenery chewing performance. I wasn't terribly impressed by it, but I will say it is extremely watchable. So yeah, what did you think, Stefan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I liked it a bit more than you, but I agree there were a few problems, mostly in the fact that the storyline that I just said sounds so simple, and it needed to play up to its simplicity a bit more. I think it's one of those stories where it had this brilliant idea, and like you said, it had some nice kind of concepts and kind of things it was trying to explore about society in the way that people. I mean, funnily enough, about 2 days later, I was in the car with my friend, and she was driving, and some guy just beeped really loudly at her, and it went past, rolled his window down, and like screamed at her out of his window. and it's quite intimidating, particularly when it's a female driver sometimes, and you get men intimidating women when they're just driving on their way home or on their way to work. And I like the kind of social commentary aspect, and I like the fact that it had a kind of look at that side of culture, which is something that happens every day on the streets. You see and hear it on the streets every day, but it's never really explored in film. And I quite like that, and I like that as a setup for a premise where it's just a kind of one man going after a woman across the streets based on one small incident. I like the kind of simplicity, but I think it just deviated too far away from its simple premise, and it ended up going into kind of areas where it just seemed a bit unbelievable. He started to get a little bit too psychotic, and there started to be scenes where you thought, hang on a minute, how would that happen? And I just feel like it tried too much. And the fact that, Dave, you just said, you saw a big explosion or a house on fire, whatever it is, this film doesn't need anything like that, if you think about it. If you think about what the film is as a social commentary and as a kind of stripped back kind of thriller on the streets, the fact that there's even an explosion shows it goes in a direction it didn't need to go. I think it could have stayed more simple, but I do get there might be studio pressure to throw in a few big scenes, because maybe a film like this isn't on a low budget, that isn't got enough about it to guarantee distribution and stuff. So maybe they felt they had to shoehorn in some big action sequences, but I think it would have been better off without them, to be honest.
Well, surprisingly, I really, really loved Russell Crowe in the last thing he was in, which is the Kelly Gang movie, which I thought that role was just incredible. And it's the Russell Crowe that I love. And I think to go from doing that to something a bit more sort of hammier, more sort of, overacty, sort of kind of disappointed me a bit. I don't know. What are your opinions?
Yeah, no, I thought I agree about the Kelly Gang. I thought he was really good in that. But then again, I think in this instance, it was more the character. I think he was the character was. I think he played the character well. I know you said he kind of overdid it, but looking at the script and what the character was capable of, I think the only way to play this role was to just go all out and ham it up in some regards. So I don't think he did a bad job as such. I think it was more issues with the character development. But I do think he's finding a bit of a not a niche, but he's playing roles of people who are not very nice people, and I think he just does it well. He's got a darkness to his demeanor, which is really.
I wonder why.
He is good at those characters, and I think it's good when actors can identify and go, look, I play idiots well, so I'm going to be an idiot.
I reckon I'd play an idiot well. I do.
Yeah, I reckon I'd be great at
in
that,
real life.
Yeah,
I'm nailing it. So,
Same.
Yeah, we'll do the idiots movie. So there's the film that springs to mind with this similar sort of theme is Falling Down. I was going to say that. I think it was early 90s, wasn't it? And what a film that is. And that's relatively simple, and it does have a few set pieces. I mean, there's he goes to that gun shop, doesn't he, and gets a bazooka, and then there's that comedic scene where that child helps him fire the bazooka, and it's completely balmy, but it just shows how he's completely lost the plot, and he's just doing something to try and ease the tension. But is he just an angry man who's got issues that can't necessarily and needs help from somebody to deal with them, or is it just an excuse to blow things up?
I think the problem with the film, it isn't Falling Down. Falling Down is really brilliantly sort of written. It escalates. His anger escalates, and it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. Here, we just kind of dropped in the middle. We don't really know anything about this guy, and also there is absolutely no backstory to what's led him. We know that he's popping pills, and we know that something awful must have happened in his life, but there are no sort of hints to what justifies his actions, and that really annoyed me. I mean, this is made by the director. Is it the writer or the director of Red Eye, which is a film that I absolutely love, and the thriller in this is so brilliantly played out that it is very plausible. I think that this film here suffers from a lack of plausibility, and I think that's where its problem lies. And I was also not terribly impressed with the acting all around, and there is a very also an extremely conventional ending as well, which surprised me a lot for a film that purports to sort of bring about some interesting ideas. I was not convinced by it in the slightest on any level, unfortunately.
That's a shame. I think I still want to see it.
Yeah.
You will enjoy it, I'm sure.
You made a point though, it's true about Russell Crowe's character. He was almost too unhinged, because I think the point to this was you just don't know who you're beeping at. The idea is you might go beep, beep, beep at someone on the street, and you don't know what is going on in that person's life, and you don't know what it could cause. And I like that kind of concept, but he's so psychotic in this movie that you don't feel like you've just stumbled across someone on who's got out the wrong side of bed this morning. You feel like you stumbled across someone who's just escaped from an institute, who's already killed 15 people just this week. And I think it just takes away from the realism that it doesn't feel like someone, like this kind of story of, oh, this could happen to anyone. It feels quite stupid, whereas it begins as something where you feel like, oh God, this is something that technically could happen to any of us, but you'd have to be pretty unlucky to run into an unhinged Russell Crowe on the street.
Yeah.
But I did like it, I think, a bit more than you, Linda, because I think I'm not sure if it's the timing of when I saw it, but it was quite, maybe sort of a couple of weeks ago when I've been watching lots of films from home, and watching films from home requires a kind of different part of my brain to watching in cinema. And I think watching a film like this that required no thinking, where I just sat there for an hour and a half, I found that I just watched it, and I never got my phone out, I never kind of paused it and went to the garden. I just kind of sat down for an hour and a half and just enjoyed it. Whereas I think over lockdown, watching some kind of 2-hour films and 2.5-hour movies that are dramatic and have lots of complexities and stuff, which are still films I love, I think this was a bit of an antidote to that type of film. And I was quite happy just to sit down and watch Russell Crowe being really, really angry for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I actually had the same experience as you. I did watch it in one go, and I'm someone who's really I get distracted by anything. I did watch it. I'll give it that. It's extremely watchable. What I'm trying to say is that it's a B movie that has aspirations to be something that it isn't, and I just think I would have had a little bit more respect for it if it went all out, all B movie, just gone completely crazy, and I think. Like I said, I was not convinced by the story it was trying to do, and I just thought it was very unpleasant. The violence towards women in it was really unpleasant, and I wasn't convinced by the argument he was trying to make. That's what I'm trying to say. But I give you that. It is very watchable. It is. And I think loads of people will pay the money and watch it. Is this out?
Well, people have. It came out last week, and actually it's the number one. It's the number one movie in the UK. I saw an email on Monday.
Fair enough. It's
but
good.
I mean, at the moment, let's just say it's probably not as hard as it could be sometimes to be number one in the UK on the 5th of August 2020, when there's nothing else in the actual real life cinema. But no, fair play. People went to see it. I haven't got the stats in front of me about how many people and the money it's made, but people obviously wanted to see a bit of Russell Crowe.
At least 10, we hope.
Let's hope so.
Probably still make it the number one film in the UK last week.
So, guys, let's wrap up. What would you give it out of 5?
Oh, sorry. Go
on, Linda. Sorry.
No, 2 for me. 2 out of 5.
I go slightly higher. I go 3.
3. So Maximus Decimus, whatever his name is, didn't necessarily do it for our guys, but do let us know in the comments below what you thought of the movie. Were you one of the people to see it in a real life cinema? Do let us know that as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, we'll look forward to seeing you on whatever the next movie review that we do is here at Hey You Guys. So take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey